All right, the reason we're speaking about chochmah and binah is that this is the one place that we have a little bit of an identification with, and it is extremely representative of the whole phenomenon of etzem hispashtus, of godliness and worldliness, and all the things that we are discussing. One of the things that the Rebbe says over here, and this is something which we're going in a circle around, that oir is be'etzem b'bchinas ayin. It is in the quality of ayin and in pshitus and so forth. We are in the world, and the world consists of a presence, of yesh. How are we to relate to inyan that's ayin? The reason that it prompted me to talk about chochmah and binah, because I saw on the WhatsApp, he goes into a big debate and everybody says what his stomach is telling him. We have to get some kind of an anchor. This I says what the stomach is telling me. I give an expression in yeshiva, a boichsvora. You never heard that, did you?
No.
You heard it, no?
No.
No, also you did. Did you ever hear it? A boichsvora. Okay. So he's a London. He already heard, but the term a boichsvora.
You have it in English. My gut tells me.
My gut tells me. Yeah.
My gut is a little on a higher level, no, than our boichsvora.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's true. Here's a principle that I'd like to have us relate to. From there, we can develop further. In the world, as we pointed out many times, but it is always elusive. There is not a real entity. The Rebbe says, in the whole dover, everything, there's atmosphere hispashtus. From a world, within a worldly context, there is not a real atmosphere, a real presence. What do I mean? Going from the smallest up to the greatest. A table is not created as a table. It is boards put together in a certain form, and we call it a table because it has that certain function. This is how the world perceives things. This is the classic way of identifying things. There's a certain point. So normally this is how the world goes on. A tree has its natural way how the tree draws chayes from the earth, draws water and moisture and so forth. Everything has what is called a natural process. that gives it sustenance and makes it survive. In this approach and this development, we're missing, besides that, many other things, but straight open principle. We're missing the entire meaning of an entity. A tree is not wood that draw chayas from the earth. A tree has a life element of its own, has a design, has a significance. It's a creation with the creator's design and a name and a meaning to it. Some trees produce fruit. Some trees produce shade. This is on the lower level. Then when it comes to the world of life, the living world, starting bottom up, there's nothing natural about any creature in the world. Our only means to relate to that reality, that level of reality in the world, we cannot relate to it by dissecting what is a human being consistent, what is how the cat consistent. That will not expose us to the reality of the world. Not even if we study the nature of the cat. We have to have what we call a dynamic approach, meaning approach that we can identify with the entire entity, not by dissecting its consistency in what it's built from. Because the truth is, this is what's important. The truth is, the world was created on that level of the spirit, what that stands for. Every creature was created as a creature, a living thing. That's what it says in the Torah. Behemoths and crawling things, and the fowl and so forth, and fish. All of these things represent the divine significance, identification of what these things are. These are not natural worldly entities. That consists of all the parts in which they were put together from. Our only means to identify with these realities, look at our world from that perspective, that level. What is in the world? There's just a reality. Our only means to look at the world on that level and to relate to the world on that level and to respect our own life on that level is in chochmah. Chochmah has a completely different perspective of what it observes than that which results later on in binah. The dissection in binah that puts things together, that identifies the various details, let's say in the function of a human being and so forth. This is why it is extremely important, and we repeat this all the time, Binah must not lose sight of the chochmah that presented this entity to him. If he loses sight of the chochmah that presented him, he's going to have the fundamental ingredient, but not the real thing. A human being will consist of hands and feet, mouth and noses, not a human being. The simple motion that one must bring back to himself and think, this is a very simple thing that will always bring us back to our senses. If you're a guest in somebody's home and he serves you lunch, it is imperative that you remember the lunch he gave it to you, now you can eat lunch, and enjoy it. But if you lose sight that you are in his home and that this lunch was served to you, by him, out of his recognition of respect for you, and out of affection, out of recognition of your significance, you will be acting like an animal. One of the things that the Torah...
Can I add something?
Not yet. One of the things that Torah tells us, a very simple little story. Esav came home from the field. And he was tired. And Yankov was preparing a certain food for his father Yitzchak. Esav observed this food and says, let me swallow some of this. Yankov gave it to him gladly. And then the Torah takes pains and tells us a very simple, obvious phenomenon. He ate and he drank. He got up and he left.
He left.
What is this about? That's exactly what we are talking about. We must not lose sight, even though we identify with the physical world and we are practical and so on, but must not lose sight for one moment the reality that from which this surfaces, this comes from. The leg of the table is not a leg, it is part of the table. The only faculty by us that identifies things at this level is called chochmah. The primary significance of chochmah is that chochmah identifies with not with what I see, but with the reality that allows this which I see to be. This is called in Rambam a first being. What does the whole reality come from? The whole concept of being comes from. There's a real being. Chochmah perceives it that way. There's a reality to being. Once we recognize and we allow ourselves to be guided by this perception, then we can begin to decipher at the detail level, on the binah level, of what is going on, but it will always be representative. It will always connect us and tell us, what are we talking about? We're talking about a living thing. Something that is beyond our comprehension at all, understand? Something that is representative of a first being, of a truth beyond anything that we can observe. Chochmah and binah, yes, they go together. It's part of the faculties of the intellect. They must not lose sight, however, of the primary importance, the overwhelming importance of the chochmah that allows for binah to be. If we are going to take binah independently of chochmah, we're not going to have a real world. Just as, in the example, if you eat the food that the host gave you, we forgot about the fact that that you're in somebody's home, this is not real food. This is like eating like a cat. Chochmah is that which brings us brings to our consciousness. It's true. It's a conscious thing. It's a hispashas. It's a gil, but it brings to our consciousness that of the primary reality of existence. That there's a creator to everything, and what we are observing is really the creator's effect rather than the tangible entity. Just as when you observe a table, you observe the skill of the skill of its maker and the concept of the human concept of not the piece of wood that you can touch. The examples are rampant, not because there's so many examples, because the whole world represents this truth. Wherever you turn. The only thing that is required of us to live with this truth is to recognize that this world has been presented to us by a creator. We're not living in a world that we create, that we identify with our own faculty, with our own experience. This is the one principle that must be remembered. This is what the Rambam says in Sefer. Yes, Shlomo, you can ask a question.
was writing, I was trying to.
I can hear.
Turn it up.
Okay, I was trying to say that in chochmah we deal with the reality, and that's something we can't question, because this is what it is. In binah we deal with the function of the thing, so that's why we can.
Reb Shlomo, where are you going? What is it about? What's the point of this?
Because that was.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you exactly what it is. You want to see chochmah from a worldly perspective. You want to touch the chochmah.
No.
Yes.
Clownish.
What's the point? What's the point of it? What is the reason that you can question the chochmah?
Why I can't question the chochmah? Because
Yeah.
this is on the course. This is the reality.
What's the reality? What's the reality mean?
Real, true. It's true.
What?
It's true.
We go back to the same terminology. I explained, or just not explained. It's a different level of existence. What's the reality? This is why I said I have to talk about it. The WhatsApp is full of these terminologies which have no meaning. They have meaning only when you come from a barren world. Then it has meaning. You're not really talking about the real thing. If you say a human being is a reality, because it's a reality, you're not allowed to kill a human being. That's what a human being is.
A human being presents Hashem. Is Elokus.
How is it Elokus?
Because Elokus made it.
Elokus made everything.
But this is a direct reflection of Elokus.
How is it a direct the fact that he made everything?
But he made it with Salmani Kid Mistani. Not everything but
that's a human being, that's a special quality, that's a real rank. Little rank. You're allowed to step on a cockroach, but you're not going to kill a cat just out of the blue.
Yeah, because
is that the difference between the human being and the animal?
No, there's something worldly and there's something godly, which God made the world outside of himself. And
what's godly? Define that.
I can't define that. I
can't define that. Because we are looking to identify things on a different level, and that's what I'm trying to explain right now.
I'm not trying to identify godly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to identify godly.
You're trying to identify that you observe in the world in worldly terms.
No, I'm not. Where do I say that?
You're giving a structure.
I'm not giving anything.
So fine. So what is the point of what you're making?
I'm trying to make that what's the function of binah. That binah is a functional level. We don't question the fundamentals, but we just question how to function about it in this world. This is we're not asking on the primary think of the primary reality. We're asking how the reality to fit in this world. What do I do? This is the functional level. I don't see that I'm off.
Does that give you a better understanding of the world?
No,
what you just now said.
Understanding of the koiches which a person has. What
koiches did you identify it?
I identify there's something we are questioning, there's some things we don't question.
That doesn't identify anything, so you don't know. What did it identify?
Again, I have to identify what I have to do, what my mission is. So my mission is to accept godliness as it is, and how we live in a world. We have to ask questions how.
You know the famous expression, bracha levatola. You know what bracha levatola is? You make a bracha and you spill the water. I explained.
Okay, I'll just say everything, but I'm just honest. I'm saying
what?
how,
I can hear.
He says he has to think he's being honest.
I'm sorry?
He says he has to think into it.
If I should just
You
be quiet,
will
I'll
think
be quiet.
into his own words. He's not going to have anything. Reality ahead, reality ahin. What are we? What? Why is chochmah identify things differently than binah? The Rambam gives you an approach to this, a principle. The Rambam says that the yesod of
I didn't
chochmah.
speak about chochmah. I just spoke about binah. I don't understand what's going on. I didn't speak about chochmah. I said about binah.
I don't know. Okay, Reb Shlomo.
I don't understand. I can't hear him saying.
What?
I can't even hear what he's saying.
No, here he's not.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Reb Shlomo, I don't see. I gotta ask you, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you driving to?
Okay.
And I'm saying to you, what you're driving to is you want to have a tangible way of grasping chochmah. The reason I'm
The reason
I'm is because it's not necessary. What?
I just spoke about binah. I didn't speak about chochmah. Okay, but I'll be quiet. I didn't say anything about chochmah. I just said about binah, but I'll keep quiet. I misunderstood.
I really feel bad. We got the word reality. And finished, that becomes our motto. What's that about? What does it mean? But binah is not reality. You touch a piece of wood, it's not real. It's very
We
real.
don't deal with the reality. Binah, we deal with the functional part of it.
What's the difference? A piece of wood is real or not real?
But I'm not questioning of the wood. I'm questioning how to make from this wood a table.
That's right. So how do you make a piece? You have to take a real piece of wood. And a real nail, put it together.
I'm not questioning. That's what I'll say.
What?
I'm not questioning why it's wood. I'm not questioning why it's wood. I'm questioning how to make a table of the wood. This is the binah, the functional part of it. That's all I said. I didn't go about chochmah anything. I didn't say anything about chochmah.
And why does binah create a table in this form?
I don't know why. But
You don't know why, so...
I only said what its function is. I didn't say why.
No, this is exactly what I'm trying to point out to you. Binah does not create the table on its own.
I didn't say it's creating on its own, but it has to create a table.
So how does it create a table if it doesn't know what a table is?
I don't know. I didn't make any conclusions how it makes, but I just said what the function of binah is, to create a table.
So where does it get this function to create a table?
Okay, I'm willing to listen, but I didn't say anything where it got that function.
That's what I'm asking. What are you trying to bring out? What's the point?
I'm just trying to distinguish what chochmah is and what binah is.
This is not binah.
Okay.
Binah is what takes from chochmah. That's what I said. If you have no input from chochmah, it's not binah.
It takes from chochmah. It takes from chochmah that this is wood.
No. Wood it identifies because when you touch it, it's wood.
I just said it as an example, but it takes from
Okay, so
chochmah.
what does it take from chochmah?
Okay.
What does it take from
I
chochmah?
didn't say anything contrary to that.
I'm asking you.
Just,
You said I just finished saying that binah without chochmah is not an entity. What in your description? What is binah take from chochmah?
what did I say? So what did I say that? I don't know.
You were saying, I'm saying this is what prompted me to talk about it. We got into terminology that have no meaning. You have the word reality, ahead about AYIN, and what does that mean?
It means to me. I know I sense what's true.
Look. What does it mean to you? Okay, go ahead. What does it mean to you?
This is true.
What does it mean
But
true?
I
What's
can't explain that. I can't explain that. This is what I know. I'm true. This is true.
I thought you were trying to explain something.
I don't need to explain it.
And what's the significance of that statement? What's the point of that statement? That it's true and that it's real.
Does it mean more significance that this is true?
Yeah, what does it mean? It's true. What does it mean? It's true.
I don't know what it means, but
it's your words. So how can you use the word if you don't know what it means?
But it's true.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Because it means true. I need to explain that.
What?
I don't know why I need to explain that if something is true.
What does it mean to you?
It means to me that it's true. It's something a person is searching for truth. This is true.
You're using a word and tell me what you mean by that. I don't know what it means.
It means to
All right. So the principle that I want to impress upon everyone, there is no way to identify chochmah in worldly words. Chochmah sees things from a completely different level. Just like I always ask a very simple question. Look up at the sky and describe to me what you see. He's an artist. Can you describe what the sky looks like?
Nothing. I see nothing. You look up at the sky and you see nothing.
What's the difference whether it's daytime and you see it and at nighttime you don't see it? Is there a difference?
It's still the sky.
Well, you don't see anything.
I know.
So I'm saying so it's not nothing. But this is a nothing that has a tremendous significance. And it is the basis for everything else.
No, I meant it's nothing I can put my finger on.
That's right. That's right. You can't identify. I mention it.